This time we're taking a look at the Beast from the Marvel Legends, the Toy Biz. This particular figure is from the X-Men Legends gift set. That set consisted of figures that had been previously released, yet in the box set they received slightly different paint jobs or extra accessories and or a brand new head sculpt. There was one exclusive figure, and that was Rogue. The Beast figure here, the only difference between him is the lab coat that he comes with. Sculpt is the same as the initial release of the figure. I actually prefer to have the lab coat off of my Beast, so we'll put that aside. It's there, you can get to see all the sculpt of the arms and the back here. Now he does have another accessory, and these are removable glasses. They don't clip or peg on, they just sort of sit there on his face, relying on the natural tension to keep them up. We can take those off, and again, very nice details on all the hair. You can see the sideburns, the hair on his forearms, his shoulder, on his chest, down to his feet and legs. And some nice paint details on the feet with the toenails and also the nails on his fingers. And he's this very nice blue with a black wash. It's a nice use of both colors. Very nice blue eyes, his teeth. Now he's still quite an early Legends figure, so they haven't quite worked out all the articulation yet, but he's pretty well articulated. Starting with the head, of course, goes left and right, and up and down on a joint at the neck. And you could, if you press your finger there, kind of also turn them above the neck there as well. But it is quite tricky, so you get a side-to-side motion there. He does have a posable jaw. Very nice detail. You can see that his tongue is painted there, as well as his gums. His arms do go all the way around and out to the side that much. He rotates at the bicep. He has a single joint at the elbow. Very nicely articulated. It moves pretty far. You can see where the joint is, and you can see how far it collapses in to his arm, and how they managed to keep the sculpt of the fur there from interfering with the articulation. He rotates at the wrist, bends at the upper wrist, I guess you would say, or lower wrist, and 3 of his fingers are articulated, with the index finger separately articulated, as well as the thumb, and that's on both hands. He does not have any upper torso articulation, and he's in this pretty much crouching forward position all the time. He does have waist articulation though. His legs have the joint here that kind of like the DC Universe Classics would adopt. I think the only other major character from the Legends that has this type of joint would be the Punisher. And so this goes forward and to the side there. It rotates at the upper thigh, but the sculpt of the figure really gets broken up there, so you can't get him into different positions, but he may look a little bit odd in them. He's got double knee joints, and he rotates at the lower calf there, and his feet do bend forward and back, have the ankle pivot, and his toes bend forward and back a little bit. That's his articulation. Henry Philip McCoy first appears in X-Men #1 in 1963. That's in his regular human form. He acquires his more bestial blue-furred look later on in Amazing Adventures #11 in 1972, born to Norton and Edna McCoy. A typical Midwestern family, I guess, but Norton McCoy worked at a nuclear power plant, which is why Hank became a mutant. So growing up, it was apparent that he was a genius at a young age, but his mutant powers developed, of course, at puberty. He excels at sports. He gets pretty famous as a sports star, running track, football, whatever. However, this does cause some animosity within the community. An encounter with some supervillains, minor superpowered villains, leads him to join the X-Men when Xavier comes to recruit him. So he's a founding member of the X-Men. So he leaves the X-Men actually before the whole new X-Men come into the picture, and he leaves to go to work for the Brand Corporation. He was working on this serum used to activate mutant genes, and he unfortunately tests it on himself, which results in his becoming, initially pretty much like the Hulk, a gray version of what you see here. Then a couple of issues later, he turns blue, because I guess they still had the same coloring problem with gray. Initially, he kind of changes back and forth, then permanently becomes the Beast. He hides his furry form from his co-workers pretty comically. He creates a mask to hide his furry features. Nobody catches on that this guy is wearing a mask. As the Beast, he becomes involved in finding out all this really bad stuff that the Brand Corporation is involved in. And he makes friends with Patsy Walker, who is a former model who has aspirations of becoming a superhero, married to the head of security at the Brand Corporation. So there's this kind of weird partnership that forms where she's going behind her husband's back, and her husband is not a nice guy. He's in the middle of all this shenanigans going on at the Brand Corporation. The mask, and I'm also forgetting, he also has rubber gloves to fit over his hands. It's so convincing that he's able to have a girlfriend Yes, and he has a love life. He dates this woman called Linda Donaldson, and unfortunately for him, she turns out to be a spy, a corporate spy, um, working against Brand. He eventually discovers that she is a spy and is crushed, and it's really kind of bizarre. I think she actually dies in the culmination of that series in Amazing Adventures. He's somehow recommended to the Avengers and becomes a member of the Avengers, striking up a long-time friendship with Wonder Man. After being an Avenger for quite a while, he's one of the members of the Avengers that is pretty much thrown off the team because the U.S. government wants to limit the number of Avengers. So he goes out and he rejoins his former comrades with the X-Men, the Angel and Iceman, and they become part of the Defenders. He stays on that team until they split up, but soon afterwards, he joins X Factor again with all the original X-Men, this time including Scott and the resurrected Jean Grey. He is forced by a businessman to test a serum which would basically be a cure for mutants. This businessman has a mutant son that he wants to cure, and unfortunately this kind of works but doesn't. The serum just reverts him to his original human-like, non-blue furred state. So soon after he's touched by Apocalypse's horseman pestilence, she infects him with specific disease that affects his strength and intelligence. He will get stronger and stronger, but dumber and dumber. He is eventually cured of that and reverts back to his blue furred form. Pretty much remains that way for a significant amount of time. When the X teams sort of remerge back into one, he is part of the blue team and primarily works on the threat of the legacy virus created by Strife. And he eventually comes to cure that it requires a mutant to sacrifice their life for the cure to take effect. He's not willing to subject anyone to that. However, Colossus does an end run around him and sacrifices himself to cure all the other mutants affected by the legacy virus. But that's alright, because he got better. Now, he was, for a while, replaced by a doppelganger from the Age of Apocalypse alternate timeline, where he was taken in by Mr. Sinister at an early age and developed into a really malicious and evil, manipulative character, so-called Dark Beast. His appearance changed from a sort of primate type beast to a more feline looking beast form in the Grant Morrison run, the New X-Men number 117, which introduced the idea of secondary mutations, and that was his. Much to my dislike, he stayed like that. I'm always hopeful that they'll bring back the classic looking beast. You might have read Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, the first run of that series, where there's yet another cure for mutants, and which he is tempted to take because he tires of his bestial form. Just quite recently, he's left the X-Men and joined the Avengers, albeit the secret Avengers. Scott, Cyclops, and Warren, Angel were keeping stuff from him that he really thought that friends should have revealed to him. Primarily the existence of the strike team called X-Force, and the fact that Warren could now switch back and forth between Archangel with metal wings and his regular Angel feathered wing form. Plus, the Scott wanted to use a form of the legacy virus against the Skrulls. Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, died protecting the first mutant born since Decimation. So I guess that's it for him, and stay tuned for more Marvel Legends. Till then, I'll see you.